So now we are going to dive more deeper into HTML forms. So far we have built our form. This is not looking clean here. Let me just remove this. Let me see if you guys will see it. You can see so far we have built our form where we have our label, we have our input. Our input field carries a placeholder and a required here. So this is our form that we have built so far. But now I want us to dive deeper into form. Now this is a form. I want to give the user the ability to type in a message. Now if you look at what I've been doing so far here, when a user type in a message, the user can only type in this message in just one line. The input field here with the type text give the user the ability to just type in their message in one line. Now we have a way we can make it possible for them to have a text area where they can type in their text or message in a proper line. Now this is a contact page. I want to remove this password. I just want the user to give me his name, his email, and the message he wants to send to me. Now I'm going to create another feed here, a label here. I'm going to label it as message. I'm going to label it as message. In here now, let me just put this break. So now in here now, I don't want to give it an input type like this that is straight line. I want it to be a message input where a user can type in as long as his message is, he can type it in there. So now I'm going to use something called a text area. Now you can see that this text area give the user a area where he can type his message. I'm just going to give him a placeholder here, which I'm going to say enter your message. You can see the placeholder here is just telling him to enter his message. Now this is called text area. It allows users to type multiple lines. Now you see a user can just type in something like I am let me say I'm contacting you because I like your videos and I want to tell you. So you can see now that I've just writing some message here so that you can see now that this message can carry any area. You can see the user can also expand this. Maybe in the future I'm going to show you how we can restrict the user from being able to expand this like this. But for now you can see now that the user can type in as many message as the user wants. Now I want to also, just like I explained to you, I want to show you an optional way to give the user the exact columns and rows. You can see a text area inside here does not carry only a placeholder. Inside the text area inside here, we can also give it the number of rows we want. I can say rows in here, I can say 5. You can see it just give me 5 rows automatically. I can also say columns. I can say columns 30. You can see it give me 30 column automatically. So we can use this to indicate how we want the size of our text area to be. How we want our text area, the size we want our text area to have. Now we are going to look at another very important thing again, which is the radio button. We are going to create another type of input in here. I'm just going to leave this contact page. I'm going to come down here and I'll create another form in here. Let me just write comment. Remember, I've already showed you how to write a comment in HTML. I just do this like this. Let me remove this space. So this is how we can write comments in HTML. In here now, I want to create a radio button. So in here now is how we can create radio button with HTML. Now I'm just going to create another form here, but before that form, I'll create a paragraph here. I will say select your gender. So maybe after the user inputs this contact page, want to also know the gender of this user. So I say select your gender. Then here we are going to create let me just wrap all this. Let me do this still inside the form because you have to still be inside the form. Let me do this still inside the form. So let the submit button just be the last one there. So in the select your gender now, I'm going to add a label here. Inside this label here, I'm going to have an input, and the type of this input now is not going to be text. The type of this input now is going to be radio. You can see now that we have a type of input called radio. Now if you look at what we are doing here, let me break this so that you will not think that is the button is inside the radio. So you can see the button is not part of this radio. The radio is just on its own. So we can see we can give this input type radio. We can give it a name. We'll give it a name now called gender. Give the name now called gender. The first gender I want to put in here is male. So you can see we have a label. Label, what I've been doing so far, we just put label and put the message there to label and what the input is. But you can see in this text, in this radio button now, we put a label. Inside this label, we have an input that declare the radio. Then we have the male there. Now we can also create another one for the for female. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll say label. Inside the label, I'm going to have an input. So my input type here is going to be radio. My name here is going to be gender. You can see, and inside here is going to be female. So you can see now the user can choose the user can choose male, or the user will be able to choose female. So that's just how we create radio button in HTML. You can see this also very, very important in creating HTML forms. We'll be able to create our radio buttons. And this name attribute you are seeing here, this name attribute you are seeing here is very, very important because it keeps this radio button together. Because of this name attributes that are together, it's both of them have the same name attributes together. It makes this radio button understand that this is just an option of the same attribute. You can see now it just makes this the name attribute is just telling it that this is the same form. These both are the same form. So the user can either choose these attributes in here, or you can either choose this option in here. So that's just what the name attribute is defining in here. So if as they are the same name, that means they are just option, different option. Now let's look at checkbox. I'm just going to continue in here. I'm going to create this again, and I'm going to call this checkbox. I'm going to call this checkboxes. Now I'm still going to create another paragraph just like I did before. In this paragraph, I'm going to say select your skills. So very simple as this, select your skills. Now I'm just going to add a break before we continue. In this select your skills now, I'm going to have a label. And in this label now, I'll have my first input, my type, just the same thing I did in the checkbox. My type now, in this my input, my type now is going to be checkbox. This is just a different types we can do in our input. You can see now my type now is checkbox. Is different from the way a radio is. Now in this checkbox, we can also do the same thing. The first keys here is HTML. You can see first one HTML. I can create another one in here, label. Inside my label, I'll have my input. Inside my input, I'll have my type, checkbox. I'll say CSS. So you can see now we have HTML, we have CSS. Now you can see how the checkbox is in here. Now, unlike the radio button, you see checkbox allow multiple selection. Now, for example, the user fill this form, add his message, and choose his gender. You can see this is used for where only one option can be chosen. Now, the user choose his gender, male, and in here the user now select his skills, HTML. We also have CSS keys, so we can't just choose only HTML keys. We can also choose CSS keys. So you can see the difference. In radio, we can only choose one option, but you see in checkbox, we can just check as many as we want. If this continues, like if we have more feed in here, like let me also say JavaScript. If we have more feed in here like JavaScript, you can see now that we can choose as we can check this box as many as we want. So that's just the difference between the checkbox here and the radio. Now another thing I want to show you here is drop down in HTML forms. Now instead of showing so many options, sometimes what would be preferred for us to use is a drop down. So let me show you how we can also create a drop down. So I'm just going to come in here and I'll comment this out again, and I'll call this drop down. just like this. Now in this drop down, I'm going to still do the same thing that I've been doing. I'll create a label. I'm going to say choose your level. So as simple as that, choose your level. Then I'm just going to, let me just break this here so that the remaining one will start from the second line. So I'll say choose your level. Then in here now, I'll click a select. This is how to create a drop down. I'll click a select. This is how to, you have to be below the button. I want the button to be the last thing here. Let me just bring this button down here. And before the button, let me add a break. Let me add this break. So now I said I've created a select. If you notice what just happened, when I created this select, this arrow here just appear. So let's make it have some options. Now we have created an up down. We want to give it different options. So the first one I'm going to create, the first option I'm going to create is beginner. You can see I have option one, beginner. You can see beginner have been put there as the default option. Now I can have another option in here. I'm going to have a second option, intermediate. You can see I'm going to have it like this. You can see. Then I'll have a third option. Let me just say advanced. So you can see now I've created this select. This select now, this is the way that will create drop down now in HTML. I give it a label. It's a label that we have been doing right from the beginning. Then I'll declare it the select. Then inside the select, I'm going to declare the options I want this drop down to have. You can see now if we click this, we have different options we can choose. We can choose the intermediate, we can choose the advanced, and also choose the beginner. So this is another way we can create options in HTML. Another input type I didn't show you is number. Let me go up here after my name, email. I want to know the user age. So let me just say form, this is name, this is email. So in here now, before the message, let me know the user age. So let me just put label age. Right? Let me break this so that you will not be confused. So you can see in here now I can have an input field, and I'll have a type here. Now the type will not be text, the type will just be number. So in this age now, the age cannot have a text. The age can only have number, and because it's number, it will bring out this arrow that is in here. We can also use it to select any number that we want. You can see this is another type again in HTML forms that we can also create. Now we also have another type again called date. I'm still going to do this up here, but let me just go down and do it here. Let me do it down here. I'm just going to comment this out and I'm going to call it date. Now we have another type again called date, and we can just do this very easily by just saying, we can do this very easily by just creating an input. Inside the input, we'll just put a type here and we'll give it date. Now if you look at the dates we have created here, let me break this in up here so that it will look good. Let me actually put it 3 times. So if you look at the dates we have created, you know what, let me copy this up so that we'll be seeing the what we are doing properly. So let me put it here. Don't be confused. I just want to put it in here. It will be very clear for you to understand what you are doing. So you can see now I've created this input here date. If you can look at it, what we just did here, it pop up a input type date. In here we can choose any date we want. You can see we can go here and choose the month. We can still select the year. So this is just how we create an input type date in HTML. Now we can also create an input type file. For an example, you want to create an input feed where someone can use this feed to upload a document. So it's still very easy to create that kind of feed. I'm just going to comment this out and I'm going to say file. Now to create this, just the same thing, we'll go here and we'll say input. We'll put our type in here, we'll call it file. So if you look at what is happening here, they have given us a feed that says choose file. When we click on this now, it's going to navigate to our storage, our local storage, telling us to choose a file we want to upload. So that's just how this file works in HTML. Now, lastly, let me show you some powerful attributes again we can also choose. Now, in here now, in the input type text, in my name in here, now, I can just add something. Required is already here. I can also add something called value. I can just put a default value in here. Now, if you look at what happened here, anytime we open this page, even if I refresh, the default value here is going to be visited before I'll be able to clean it and put something else. Do you understand? This default value here is going to be visited anytime. Immediately we just open this page here, we're going to have this value here, this default value here, this here as a default value. That's just what is doing here. Since I've explained to you guys, let me also show you in check something like in the radio. Let me go to the radio side. You can see in this radio now, we can also choose the one we want to click as the default before they will be able to change it to the one they want. Now we can just click here mail, and we can go here and select mail be checked by default. So you can see now that anytime we refresh this page, by default it's going to be male before they'll be able to change it to female. So that's just the values, some important values I just want to show you. You can also use this in our checkbox. You can see in here we have HTML. You can also use this here. Now by default HTML is going to be checked, but they can also be able to add others. So that's just the important attribute that I want to introduce to you guys. Now I'm going to create a project. In here, I've just been explaining how everything is being built to you guys. But now let us create a very simple project. Let me close this form entirely. Let me remove all what I've been doing entirely. Let's come back to having an empty home screen here. Now let's just create a project that is going to have some of the things we have been doing so far. Now I'm going to start with having an H2. I'm going to say registration. I'm going to say registration form. Now, after registration form, then we are going to create the form. Inside this form, the first thing we want to have here is labeled for, the first thing we want to have here is name. In the registration form, we want to first know the name of this person that is registering. Then we'll have the break line here. The second, we want to give it an input so that you'll be able to input his name. Give it a type text. And give it a placeholder. We say enter your name. And we want to make it required. If you remember, I want to make it I want this field to be required. So I'm just going here and I'll say required. You can see now that this field is going to require the user must input his name in here. So let me just add another break again. Let me make it 2 so that it will look clean. So the next one I want to create here is email. I'll just say label for email. Let me also break this. And let me add an input field here. We're going to carry a type of email. The email too is going to be required. So you can actually choose to still put a placeholder, but there's no need there. I'm not going to put a placeholder. I'm just going to leave it like that. So we want to have another one again. I want to have a message. Maybe you are registering the registering form. In the register form, we want you to be able to type in any message you want to send to us. So we'll just give a message. So I'm just going to still put a break in here. In this message now, I'm going to have a text area. You can see I'm going to give it exactly number of rows that I want it to be. So I want it to have, I want the rows to be, I want it to be in 4 rows. I don't want it to be too big. So let's just have 4 rows, and let me add columns to be 30. Let me refresh this and see. You can see you have 4 rows and 30 columns. So that's just what I want it to be. Let me add a break here so that the second line will look good. So the third one here now, I want to be able to know the gender of this person that is registering. So let me just put gender. Now in this gender, let the person be able to select. I'll put label. I'll put an input. Let me just create this input inside the label. I'm going to give it a type of radio. I'm going to give it a name. Sorry, this should not be like this. A type of radio. Then outside here, I'm going to give it a name, gender, so you can see. So in here now, I'm just going to say male. So the first option I have here is male. So let me just copy this down and use it again. I'm just going to copy this down and I'll use it again. Inside here, I'll change this to female. But you can see everything is still the same thing. So now here, I just want to add break and break again. So you can see now we have created an option where the person can also choose his gender or her gender. So the third one, another one I want to have here is skills. Just like I've created before, let the person be able to select his skills. So I'm going to click, let you be able to check his skills. So I'm just going to click skills. I'm going to create label, and inside this my label, I'll create an input. The input type here is going to be checkbox, and the first one I want to have here is HTML. Let me just copy this down so that I will not waste too much time. I want to have HTML. Also want to have CSS. Then lastly, I want to also have JavaScript, because these are the, of course, we are going to also learn CSS and JavaScript later in this course. So I will go to create JavaScript. So you can see the person can also check this and choose the skills he's learning. So in here, JavaScript now, I'm just going to break this. So at the second line, we have a little space. So now after we have created the skills, I want to create levels. So I'm going to create the levels now. So I'm just going to say label. I'm just going to say create label level like this. Then inside here now, I'm going to say select. Inside the select, I'll have option. I'll have my first option here. My first option here is going to be beginner. Second option here will be intermediate. Intermediate. And my last option here is going to be advanced. If you look at this now, I've created this level where the person can select the level that he is. So that's it. I'm going to add break here so that this will look nice, because I still want to add the submit button. So as you all know, the last thing we did was to add a submit button, and we used to submit this form that they have filled. So now I have a submit button at the end. So that's it. If you look at this now, we have used all what we have learned to create this form, and our form no longer looks simple because of these advanced features we learned. Our form no longer looks simple; it looks more advanced and professional with more features that the users can click, that we can create in a form. Now, in the next video, we are going to take our HTML skills even more further, because we are going to learn how to properly format and structure text like a professional. And this way your page go from simple to clean and well organized. I will see you in that lesson.